Building applications and solutions with Microsoft 365 Core Services. MS-600 updated questions are good material in the exam preparation. 1. You need to provide users with access to Sales App. The solution must meet the technical requirements. What should you include in the solution? A. App catalog in SharePoint Online. B. Sideloading. C. Centralized deployment. D. Microsoft AppSource. 2. You are building email notifications for an expensing system. When a user receives an email notification, the email will contain a comment field. When the user submits a comment, the data will be returned to the expensing system for processing. What should you do to implement the notification by using the minimum amount of development effort? A. Create a Microsoft Office add-in that has an action pane to display the notifications. B. Leverage Microsoft Graph notifications. C. Leverage the Azure SignalR service and implement web notifications. D. Configure the expensing system to send actionable messages. 3. You develop a web API named Web API1. When validating a token received from a client application, Web API1 receives a Misal UI required exception from the Microsoft Identity Platform. You need to ensure that the client application has the information required to complete the authentication. Which header should you include in the HTTP response sent from Web API1 to the client application? A. Accept. B. Authorization. C. www.authenticate. D. Access control allow credentials. 4. What should you add to a SharePoint framework Spfx solution to ensure that the solution can be used as a Microsoft Teams tab? A. The Teams tab value to the component type property in the manifest file. B. A manifest file to the Teams folder in the solution. C. The Teams tab value to the supported hosts property in the manifest file. D. A manifest file to the webparts folder in the solution. 5. You have an application that uses the Microsoft Graph API. When users open the application during peak hours, they occasionally receive an HTTP 429 too many requests response status code. What should you do to mitigate the errors? A. Adjust the request rate based on the rate limit reset header. B. Wait 100 milliseconds between requests. C. Adjust the request rate based on the retry after header. 6. You are designing a custom SharePoint framework Spfx web part that will be deployed to modern Microsoft SharePoint sites. You need to ensure that all the web part fields and controls adopt the theme of the site when you deploy the web part. What should you use to develop the web part? A. Material UI. B. Office UI Fabric React. C. HTML 5.0 and CSS. D. Fluid Framework. 7. Which tool can you use to generate a SharePoint framework Spfx solution? A. Eclipse. B. App Studio. C. Yak. D. Yeoman. 8. You have a custom Microsoft Word add-in that was written by using Microsoft Visual Studio Code. A user reports that there is an issue with the add-in. You need to debug the add-in for Word Online. What should you do before you begin debugging in Visual Studio Code? A. Disable script debugging in your web browser. B. Sideload the add-in. C. Publish the manifest to the Microsoft SharePoint app catalog. D. Add the manifest path to the trusted catalogs. 9. You are developing a Microsoft Teams solution to host an existing web page as a Teams tab. Which requirement must the page meet? A. The page must adhere to HTML 5.0 standards. B. The page must adhere to WCAG 2.0 accessibility guidelines. C. The page must be hosted on a domain that is on the valid domains list of the manifest. D. The page must use CSS3 stylesheets. 10. You are developing a Microsoft Teams app that will use an Azure function to send scheduled messages from a bot to users. What is required for the Teams app to send a proactive message to the users? A. The bot must be approved in Azure Active Directory, Azure AD. B. The bot must be granted admin access to the users. C. The Teams app must be added for each user. D. The users must send at least one message to the bot.